He's the EVP of football operations for the Jaguars, Tom Coughlin, here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, I'll call you Coach. How are you, Tom? You good?
I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you.
How are you enjoying the front office?
Well, I'm enjoying that part of it. I'm enjoying being, knee-deep in football. And when I came, obviously the very next step was free agency. The very next step, was the league meetings and then the draft and so on and so forth. And now into, the phase 3 of the off-season program on the field, observing every day, being a part of that. It's a good thing. It's a little different for me, and I'm still adjusting to that. But working well with Doug Marrone and Dave Caldwell.
Well, what's the biggest adjustment you've had to make then?
The adjustment is that I'm not the head coach. I'm not designing practice schedules. I'm not doing the talking to the team. I am not conducting those exercises that a head coach conducts. And I've done that for a long time. Enjoyed those very parts, that I'm talking about, the practice schedules, the schedules themselves, the off-season, the summer, the training camp, all of that stuff. So that's a little bit different. And as we move forward, it'll be interesting to see how we do when we get into the regular season.
And then in terms of the evaluation of the players that were already there, what did you see in Blake Bortles that led to the decision to pick up his option for next year, Tom?
2 years ago, he had an outstanding year. He had a lot of yardage, over 4,000 yards. I won't say outstanding because the team didn't do outstanding, but he certainly was much more productive this past year. A lack of production, if you will, turnovers, too many. And so he's a talented young man, had some flaws in his throwing motion that he did a nice job of working on in the offseason and pretty much correcting. So we've seen some good things there.
Well, in terms of that, though, I mean, the concept of not letting him play out this season and maybe using that as the carrot at the end of the stick. Why go ahead and give him that extra year when perhaps you're new to the scene there and might want to go in a different direction as an EVP and tie yourself to him for a second consecutive year? Well,
the whole thinking there is we thought it was a very good business decision, a good decision for the club, a good decision for Blake and his team as well. But obviously we have very good business people here, and the thought was it was a good move. It's an opportunity for us to keep alive the various tags, the franchise tag, the transition tag, to be utilized on other players if we need it. And also the negotiating point would be from the option. So we thought it was a good move.
Tom Coughlin, Jaguars EVP, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who does Fournette remind you of?
He is a powerful, built back in such a way that, outstanding hips and upper legs, et cetera, very, very powerful, has elusiveness. We've seen the speed that we thought we were going to see on the practice field here in the last couple of days. So he's his own man, and I wouldn't say that he reminds me to everyone. I know when we first took him, people said, is this a similar pick to Brandon Jacobs, for example? Well, Brandon was 265 pounds. Leonard is when he reported here was a little bit around 240, and we've got him down a little bit lower than that. We'd like him to play, 230, right in that area. But he is a talented young man who's dedicated himself to learning this scheme and is anxious to prove his ability in the NFL.
Well, I mean, when he was at the Combine, and same with McCaffrey, Tom, when we were sitting there in our booth for the NFL Network, we were hearing how that both Fournette and McCaffrey were getting peppered with questions about their dedication to teamwork, and because they didn't play their bowl games to try and make sure they were healthy enough for the draft. How did that question play on your mind?
Well, we had to dig, and we did our research, our due diligence, talked to all the people involved, talked to his position coach. There were some things that happened, at LSU with Leonard last year that were not, I would say, putting your best foot forward. The injury, the inability to play the way he's capable of playing, the decision about the bowl game. But he is a football player, and he's anxious to have the opportunity to make an impression on this league.
So you didn't have a problem with him sitting out his bowl game?
Well, whether I did or didn't, he passed the test. We talked to a lot of people, and whether I agree with that, disagree with that, whether it's McCaffrey, whether it's Fournette, what I think in that regard is not the important thing. I do think he's a football player.
Tom Coughlin joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Any contact at all with anyone in the Giants organization, or have you just put that in your rearview mirror, Tom?
No, the Giants have been continuing to support the J Fund Foundation. We have what we call, Rich, our Sunday Blitz, which John Mara, Steve Tisch gave permission for that to be conducted at MetLife Stadium, where families who have a child with cancer were entertained for a day. They left cancer in the parking lot. They had all kinds of events and fun, and then finished the day with an ice cream sundae. So the Giants, some of the Giant players, people that work in the Giant organization were kind enough to put forth a great effort again to help these families and to put a smile on the face of these kids, and we're very grateful for that.
Is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer in your mind, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, you didn't stutter there. What makes you say that about Eli?
Because I know the inner workings of the young man. I know how he performs in big games. I know what he did for us in the years that I was the head coach with the Giants. I know what we did, what Ernie Accorsi believed was the right choice in terms of maneuvering to make sure that Eli wore a Giant uniform. And just like anyone else, sometimes some very, very good, some games not as good as others. He'd be the first one to talk about that. But overall, the quality of the young man, the character of the young man, the way in which he works on the field, MVP of 2 Super Bowls, arguably at least one of the games being one of the greatest of all time. So I don't, in my opinion, he certainly was always our franchise quarterback and worthy of any accolade that could come his way.
In terms of what beats inside, then, who is Odell Beckham Jr. in your estimation, Tom?
I'm not going there. I'm not with the Giants anymore, and that certainly is speculated by others. And Odell is an extremely talented player.
How has Jacksonville changed with you coming back from when you first started there?
Well, there's
Tom?
only about 4 people left here, Rich, that were here when I hired most of everyone that had anything to do with football. There's only probably 3 or 4 people that are left, and so the idea of meeting and visiting with a whole new organization in terms of people, a new owner in terms of Shad Khan, the organization has grown in numbers of people who are employed here, as is relatively consistent with what I've seen throughout the National Football League. There have been some new faces in terms of what has been done here. A indoor facility is on the way. A very, very nice outdoor facility has been completed where concerts are held, etc. Mr. Khan has put a lot of interest in the development of the downtown here in Jacksonville. The great people of Greater Jacksonville continue to do a super job supporting the Jaguars. They deserve a winner, and that's why we're here.
And while you were gone, at least they put in that swimming pool you were pushing for them to put in, right, when you first started, right? They implemented that idea.
A little higher on the wall than I asked for. Thanks.
What do you think of the celebration rules being relaxed, Tom? What do you think of that idea?
To be honest with you, Rich, I get the concern over wanting to improve the pace of the game and then loosening up on the celebratory rules because I know how that went when it first came about. And really, I don't. I know there should be a certain amount of fun and so on and so forth, but that's not what my opinion of the way the game should be played is. We're a team sport, and I hate to think that there's guys, sitting in front of their locker scheming about what they're going to do with celebrations rather than, how they're going to get there in the first place. So, I've always been a act like you've been there before kind of a guy, and I think celebrations come when the game is over.
Coach, Tom, really appreciate you joining. Look forward to the next time we have a conversation. Thank you for calling.
Hey, Rich. Nice to talk to you as always.
Right back. And however we can help with the J Fund, we're all over it. So please let us know.
Thank you.
You bet. That's Tom Coughlin.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download our app. Don't have any memory on your phone? Let's start to delete some of those slow-mo videos you have. And you know which ones I'm talking about.